Hey, okay, so this is just a little video I want to make. I'll try to make it quick because I know that, today's generation has a pretty short attention span, and it's kind of hard to just sit there and watch someone talking. But, I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. So, this is a real life modern love story in 2019. So, I was accused of stalking. Um, I'm kind of using a script here, so don't mind me if I look down. I'm just reading. Um, so I was accused of stalking, and nearly everyone I say this story to accuses me of stalking as well. Um, Seriously, I've talked to all of my best friends, and they all think that I stalked this guy, and they were like, "Claudia, that's stalking." Um, but it's so important that everyone understands my side of the story, the full side of the story. So you definitely have his side, but and the world side, but you don't necessarily have my side. So here we go. Who am I? I'm Jean Valjean, 24601. Just kidding. Guys, I got jokes all day. So, no, I'm Claudia Benson, Claudia Rose Benson, aka Joan Wolf, and I am, above all else, a radical feminist. Um, why? Because I believe it has the power to save the world. Um, Radical feminism has the power to save the world. It should be known also that I am a linguist and an intellectual. I don't just learn new languages, I master new languages. Um, and I don't just learn new concepts, I destroy them and I make them my bitch. So these are facts, okay? Um, Next, um, it should also be known that I am beautiful. I know this to be somewhat of an objective fact, according to some, um, especially by one guy in particular. Um, his name is Garrett Luzader. Garrett's most defining feature, at least to me, Claudia, is that he is loved by me, Claudia, wholly and truly from the bottom of my soul. Um, no one can ever fully understand our love story, for there are no words. Um, and unbeknownst to him, there are also two facts about him that I know that he doesn't. Number one, he is perfect in nearly every way. And number two, he is the world's greatest incel. So here's where our story begins. Um, I used to hang out at Garrett's apartment frequently. I would sit and wait at his doorstep and wait for him to either come home and get me, or I would wait for him to open the door. And I spent a lot of time on Garrett's doorstep, actually, an inordinate amount of time. Right. And I also spent a lot of time sitting on his floor at his, what's it called? The little square table that they have in Japanese apartments. I'll remember the name later, trust me. But in Japanese apartments, they have little square tables. You don't have chairs, you just sit at them. Right. So it was at his apartment that I learned about the death of my friend and my little sister's best friend, Maura Binkley. So I'm gonna just take a moment here to say that Maura is and was strong, sparkling, brilliant. She was beautiful, and no one can deny that. And this man, a member of a terrorist organization known as Incel or Inceldom, a member of the terrorist organization spearheading the war on women, shot and killed her and one other, wounding 6 in the process because she and they would not probably ever have sex with him. He hated women because they would not have sex with him. I remember when I heard the news that Maura had been murdered near the the college campus in Tallahassee, Florida, that I immediately thought this was an act of terror. I told Garrett, he was going after girls like her. She was pretty, Garrett. And I asked him the name of the shooter that opened fire into a sorority house at UCLA. I don't remember his name. It honestly doesn't matter. Well, Garrett knew exactly what the guy's name was, as if he was part of the fan club. And he told me how he followed incel and misogynistic boards on Reddit and 4chan to sieve through the evil on the internet. But that wouldn't stop him from laughing at and showing me misogynistic memes and jokes on the internet. It wouldn't. If she breathes, she's a thought. So funny. He also loved hentai and cosplay, which is even more mockery of the female subspecies, and would jokingly use the word femoid even after my friend's death. He also showed me anime of children getting molested, otherwise known as Bakemonogatari. You can look it up. There is a girl that gets molested in that series. And he, actually several, and he jokes about the titties of the students he taught. Seriously, these are middle schoolers, and elementary schoolers. But before we get too far, it must be said that he, Garrett, was willing to learn. He sneakily said once, maybe in another life I would have been an incel. Oh, Garrett, but you were an incel. Don't lie to yourself. So, before I get too deep into the black hole that is Garrett Lusatter's mind, I want to talk about good things. Garrett fought brilliantly, okay? A poli-sci undergrad at Rutgers and an international relations master's at UCF, not to mention one hell of a gamer. There are championship boards across the universe with his name on it for games like Dota, Final Fantasy, and Monster Hunter World. He also was an excellent Dungeons and Dragons player. He was very good as a character, and he also was a very good dungeon master, a very good DM. He says he wasn't, but he was. And it was embarrassing to me how I would struggle with Half-Life and then he would figure out the puzzle in less than 20 seconds. Truly, a brilliant gamer, a genius gamer. So when we went to our respective schools for work and took our battles to Facebook chat, because we would talk over Facebook chat, or when I went to his house to hang out, our arguments were none other than epic. He was impressed with my wordplay and my biting sarcasm, and his quips and sharp observations were so astute they'd make my head spin. He was brilliant, I was brilliant, we were brilliant. So, on the other hand, an undergrad in linguistics and German from the University of Georgia may not mean too much, but I did acquire some very interesting and unique skills. Logic, logical fallacies, and how to use them. Especially how to identify them. I was good at identifying logic. I was good at identifying logical fallacies. In linguistics, we learn to scope out the words in word order of the individual's utterances, and not just what exactly they're saying. In other words, it makes it quite easy to figure out if someone is lying or not. Logical utterances are the truth. Lies will result in a kind of illogic or logical loop. This is a fact always and without question. For example, watch this. It is Mora's fault that she got shot because she was pretty and would not have sex with him. A logical fallacy or a loop. So, moving on. At one point in my arguing with Garrett, I hit a wall. He knew it too because he refused to argue with me any further. So I did something. I briefly gave up. White flag. I took a break, so to speak, and I threw in the towel. I even told my best friends, Sive and Bobby, that I had given it up for good. Radical feminism, that is. And that night, January 1st, 2019, New Year's Eve, I did something awful. I sat with some fellow ALTs at the JET program and watched RuPaul's Drag Race. The epitome of modern minstrel acts and a mockery of what it means to be female. A culture built on misogyny. Yes. And I knew that, but I had given up, right? I had given up. So I watched. And then a little thought popped into my head. A trans woman friend once told me that they needed estrogen hormone treatment to feel more feminine and to become more herself. But how is it that she felt like a woman before the treatment, with completely normal levels of testosterone? How is it that all of these trans women, Caitlyn Jenner, and those on RuPaul, can perform as women with completely normal levels of testosterone for a male? It's almost like testosterone has nothing to do with it. Well, boom, that was out. People can feel and act feminine regardless of the levels of testosterone present in their bodies. So, I took this to Reddit. What would they say to that? What would these guys say to that? Of course, they were so angry. It was as if I had swiped their queen away in one fell swoop, like a game of chess. I was like, that queen, mine. But there were smart ones. They said two things. Number one, some people are just born into the wrong bodies. And number two, the male brain cannot help but be attracted to the female form. Well, the linguist in me thought of these sentences. The issues, I realized, is not that men want to have female brains so much as that they want female bodies. There are enough butch and masculine women for us to know it to be true that the obsession is not so much with the way women act, but with the way they look. And this phenomenon is cross-cultural as well as historical. In other words, it's universal. So then I asked the question, why are men so obsessed with women's bodies? Seriously, I posted it everywhere, including on my own Facebook page. I mean, even gay men feel that women are beneath them or not on their level somehow. If not for their brains, then for their bodies. You certainly almost never hear of them sticking up for us in a major way. How many gay men are truly part of the radical feminist movement? Even John Stoltenberg, who is married to Andrea Dworkin, would never stand up for the women who were victims of trans women. Just saying. So why? And here's another question. Why are men so obsessed with what we do with our bodies? How we alter them? Our skin, our eyes, our hair. Yep. Okay, thank you. Well, meanwhile, I was talking in a subreddit with this trans woman who had never undergone hormone treatment, and I asked them what made them feel female. And they said that they had always felt more soft, compassionate, emotional, and empathetic. And that poor soul. I took him straight down. I said, those are stereotypes. All women are different. All women are different, buddy. Feminists have been fighting for decades, even hundreds of years, against that kind of mockery. This is all mockery. Seriously. I wasn't going to allow him to spit in my face and tell me what I am supposed to be. Okay? We can be anything, I said. Even mean. And I was mean. Because I can be mean if I want to be. So then that left one argument outstanding. The nature argument. That men are naturally attracted to women's bodies and even prone to want to rape us. This one got me down, like really depressed. because I genuinely did not know how to respond. I mean, what if it were true that that's just how men worked? Well, I slunk around the halls of the school I worked at during lunch break, and I felt hungry. I did. I felt hungry for knowledge, and I felt hungry for food. So I turned to go into the meal prep room. But then my instincts told me, no, 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 no. Go back into the workroom and wait. And I thought, fuck that. I don't have to listen to my instincts. And I walked straight into the meal prep room, and Eureka! It dawned upon me like a lightning bolt out of the sky. We do not have to listen to our instincts. And that's what I answered to about 4 or 5 people online. To one person I wrote, checkmate, friend. It was a truly beautiful moment in human history that hardly anyone knows about. It was the moment when radical feminism led to the understanding of absolute free will, March 3rd, 2019. The idea of hormones is a fallacy because we feel and act feminine and masculine without them. And the idea of a lady brain is a fallacy because it's based on stereotypes and made a reality through rigid social expectations and conditioning. The idea of a male brain is a fallacy because even with violent or strange instincts, men actually can choose to ignore them for the betterment of themselves, their relationships, and humankind. Also, probably it's not instincts, but instead brainwashing by pornography. Just keep that in mind. Turns out Ariana was right. God is a woman, and she gave us free will. Sorry about that. Hey, yeah, can you give me like 5 minutes? Yeah. What are you doing now? No, oh, nothing. I'm meditating. Thanks. Oops. If there is a creator, which I believe there is, then no doubt it is a woman, because only women can have children. Only women can create life. But before I get too philosophical, I should probably finish my love story. I stalked Garrett at his house because I really, really wanted to tell him to his face that I was right about this and he was wrong. And also that I had discovered probably the greatest secret known to man or womankind. The secret to life itself. Turns out it's multifaceted. Number 1, God is a woman. She doesn't need sperm because she creates it herself. Number 2, God gave us free will. That means absolute free will, and any attempt to stop someone or commit an act of violence against someone is an abomination. Number 3, as we have absolute free will, that means that gender, feminine and masculine, does not exist. It was always a figment of our imaginations, and it was always made up. Number 4, God loves you as you are unique. But even if you don't believe in God, you can love yourself and those around you. Even if you don't feel anyone loves you, you can always love yourself. This is the secret to immortality. Just as you said, Garrett. My suggestion to you is to love God. Love God. Because she gave you life, which is the most precious gift you can be given, as well as free will. She gave you free will. So, Garrett, thank you for your carefully considered arguments and for taking me on so valiantly. An act of heroism, you could say. Why are you the world's greatest incel? Because you challenged the world's greatest radical feminist. I even appreciate you getting me fired because turns out I'm right where I want to be. So thank you. I love you forever and always, Garrett Luzatter. I will love you forever and always. And also, this is a love story to myself. If Garrett gets this video removed for hate speech or bullying and harassment, at least you all will know our story. And also the way I found to ultimately love myself. Claudia Benson. Forever and onwards. The end. P.S. Gender ceases to exist as soon as you want it to. And I recommend let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Oh shit.